It starts like any other ordinary day. A drive down a country road, a stop at the local bakery, a phone call home, and then nothing. No trace, no signs. Just an empty space where a person used to be. One moment, they're laughing, living, breathing, and the next, it's as if the earth swallowed them whole. Every year, hundreds of thousands of people vanish across the globe. Some return within hours, others days. But a chilling number never come back. They leave behind a trail of confusion, heartbreak, and haunting questions that may never be answered. Missing persons cases are some of the most disturbing mysteries in criminal history. Not because of what we know, but because of what we don't. And sometimes it's the lack of answers that cuts the deepest. The families, the friends, the investigators, they all hold on to fragments of stories that never seem to come together. It's in that void of the unknown where the fear grows. Because when someone vanishes without a trace, it doesn't just defy logic, it defies reality. In today's episode, we're diving into the most haunting missing persons cases ever recorded. Stories filled with chilling last moments, eerie clues, and unanswered cries for help. A college student disappears into thin air after a mysterious car crash. A toddler vanishes from a sidewalk in broad daylight. A terrified girl whispers her final words from the inside of a trunk. And a young man's final scream echoes through a dead phone line. These are not just stories of people who disappeared. They are stories that still breathe, stories that won't let go. February 9th, 2004. 21-year-old Maura Murray, a nursing student with a promising future, packed her car and left the University of Massachusetts Amherst without telling anyone exactly where she was going. She emailed her professors claiming there had been a death in the family, a lie that no one understood. She withdrew $280 from her bank account, bought alcohol, and hit the road. Hours later, her car was found crashed on a remote stretch of Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. A school bus driver stopped and offered help. She declined, saying she had already called roadside assistance, though there was no cell service in the area. When police arrived minutes later, Maura was gone. There were no footprints leading away from the car, no blood, no signs of a struggle. Her belongings were found neatly packed inside the vehicle. A bottle of wine was open, but untouched. The driver's side windshield was cracked, but there was no evidence of injury. In a matter of minutes, she had vanished into the frigid New Hampshire wilderness. For years, theories ran wild: suicide, foul play, voluntary disappearance. But none of them fit all the facts. Extensive searches turned up nothing. Her scent was tracked briefly by dogs down the road, but then stopped, as if she had been picked up by a passing car, or disappeared into thin air. What started as a routine accident turned into one of the most baffling missing person cases in American history. Nearly 50 years earlier, on Halloween Day 1955, a toddler named Stephen Damon was sitting in his stroller outside a Long Island bakery while his mother ducked inside to pick up a cake. It was a crisp afternoon, and she was gone for no more than 10 minutes. When she returned, the stroller was empty. No sounds, no struggle, no sign of her 2-year-old son. His baby sister, who had been sitting beside him, was left untouched. Police were called immediately. The search that followed was one of the largest manhunts of the era. Witnesses offered conflicting accounts. Some said they saw a man lingering nearby. Others said a young couple had been walking quickly from the area with a child. The FBI got involved. Flyers blanketed the city. Every lead was chased, every tip investigated. And yet, the trail grew colder by the day. Years later, a man came forward, believing he might be Stephen, but DNA proved otherwise. Stephen's parents passed away, never knowing what happened to their son. A child vanished in broad daylight, with his siblings sitting beside him, and not a single clue has ever surfaced. It's the kind of case that feels impossible, as if reality had been bent around a moment of pure disappearance. Fast forward to Portland, Oregon, in 2009. 18-year-old Kelsey Collins was trying to escape a life she had been forced into, a life of sex trafficking, exploitation, and trauma. She had made the brave decision to testify against the people who had abused her, but she was scared. She told friends and family she felt like she was being followed, that something wasn't right. Then one day, she was simply gone. Her phone stopped ringing, her bank account remained untouched, her social media went silent. But months earlier, a 911 call had been placed from an unknown woman. Her voice was terrified, breathless. "I'm in a trunk. I don't know where I am." The call cut out, and she was never heard from again. Investigators believe the caller could have been Kelsey, though it was never confirmed. The timing, the location, the voice, everything pointed to her, but the call led nowhere. The traffickers she had testified against were later released. Kelsey's name faded from headlines, but for her mother, who had watched her daughter try to rebuild her life, the silence was a torment that never ended. Kelsey didn't just vanish, she was swallowed by the darkness she was trying so desperately to escape. Before we get to our final story, take a moment to reflect on these cases. What do you think really happened to Maura, Stephen, or Kelsey? Were they taken? Did they choose to disappear? Or is there something else, something we haven't considered, lurking beneath the surface? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your voice might help bring attention to these long-forgotten names. And if you want more in-depth breakdowns of haunting true crime stories, make sure you're subscribed. There are more untold cases out there, and we're just getting started. May 14th, 2008, Marshall, Minnesota. 19-year-old Brandon Swanson was driving home after a college party when his car veered off a gravel road into a ditch. It was past midnight, and he called his parents for help. He sounded calm, frustrated, but not panicked. He said he wasn't hurt. He told them he could see lights from a nearby town and would walk toward them while they came to find him. They stayed on the phone with him as he walked. For nearly 50 minutes, Brandon narrated his movements through the dark. Then, abruptly, he cried out, "Oh, Sat!" and the line went dead. His parents called back again and again, but he never answered. They searched all night, calling police, retracing his steps. When authorities finally located his car, it wasn't anywhere near where Brandon said he was. He had been completely disoriented. A massive search ensued, with helicopters, dogs, and volunteers combing the fields. Dogs followed his scent to a riverbank, but the trail ended there. They searched the river, drained ponds, explored nearby woods. Nothing. Brandon's phone remained powered for 2 more days, but was never used again. His final words, filled with sudden terror, echoed into an endless silence. Each of these stories leaves behind more than questions. They leave behind lives frozen in place. Maura's dorm room remains filled with untouched belongings. Stephen's empty stroller, once a symbol of youth, became a monument to loss. Kelsey's voice, if it was hers on that 911 call, remains trapped in a recording that no one can trace. Brandon's last words, cut off mid-thought, are now part of Minnesota folklore, a scream that haunts a small town with no answers. These cases aren't just unsolved. They are stories of people who were erased from their lives, from their routines, from the very landscapes they once walked. And it's that erasure that makes them so haunting. Because deep down, we all want to believe the world makes sense, that actions have consequences, that if something happens, someone will know. But these stories prove otherwise. They show that sometimes people can disappear without a trace, without a reason, without a single explanation. For the families left behind, the not knowing is worse than death. Every ring of the phone is a maybe. Every stranger on the street a possible answer. Time does not heal that kind of wound. It only deepens it. And though the world moves on, these families remain in a kind of suspended reality, where their loved one is both dead and alive, gone and yet still here. So the next time you hear about a missing person, don't let the story fade. Speak their name, share their story. Because one voice, one memory, one spark of attention, that could be the thing that brings the truth to light. And maybe, just maybe, it will help someone find their way back from the darkness.